do with our favorite team. Now, you Irish fans, it was a little hard to cheer last night. Oh, boy. Pray for him. Dear Lord. But, what if we praised in church with the same enthusiasm as we do when we root for our Colts or our Irish? Think about that. How many new people do we have here new within the last couple months? Raise your hand. All right. Fight Club is a men's ministry. First rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club, except today. And it's based on Nehemiah 4:1-4. After I looked things over, after I stood up, I looked things over, I said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord your God, who is great and awesome. Fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. Okay, the whole point of that is based on that. There's a statistic that's actually pretty frightening. The statistic is when a mom comes to church, the wife, the family follows about 17% of the time, 1-7. When you can get the father and the husband to come, the family follows 93% of the time. Okay, guys, as men, we're leading our family. Sometimes we're leading them in action. That's kind of scary when you hear that statistic. So we spend about 10 weeks of going on a journey. It's a lot of fun. We do a lot of things that are a little outside the norm. Wouldn't you say there, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the things that we do that's outside of the norm is pray with strangers. And we also, this time around we did a free throw contest with our wives. That was a lot of fun. Oh, yeah? Oh, cool. We got to do that. We got to do a pump, pass, and kick competition with our kids. Man, that was a lot of fun. One thing people say about Fight Club is, I don't have the time. With Fight Club, you actually get to spend more time with your family, and not just spending time with them, but doing quality things, building relationships with them. And I got the great pleasure of leading with these two guys, Bill Daggy and Ben Mosier. These guys went on a journey with me, and we led a number of men. There's about 7 or 8 that are either at their church or not here today. In addition to these fine men. And we got to see a lot. We got to see a lot of transformation. The men up here, the men at Grace, there's about 350 of us, roughly. I saw men deal with a pornography addiction. I saw men deal with alcoholism. We saw one man that wanted to commit suicide, and the guys came to his aid. I saw some of these guys feeding the masses. I saw them stepping up. I saw them serving. I saw them working on the church. It's been amazing. Bill, give us your feedback on this chapter.
Well, this chapter was neat for me because I got to see my son go through it, Alex, and then also I got to see Michael go through it, my son-in-law. To see them step out of their comfort zone and take that step, it's hard because I was there. First time I went through Fight Club, I was sitting at home, and my wife knew I said I was going to go, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, and she's like, "Aren't you going to get ready to go?" And I'm like, I'm not going to go. And but the thing is, later it got, and we meet at midnight. So I had some time to think about it, and God to turn in my head. God started pulling me and told me that you need to go, and I just decided about 10 o'clock to get up, get a shower, get ready to go. So it's a hard thing to do something that you don't know what you're doing, because you're going into something that you got a bunch of guys that you don't know. And you're meeting at midnight, and you just don't know what you're walking into. So it can be kind of scary at first. But once you get involved, once you see transformation, once you see men growing, it's an awesome thing. And, this Fight Club was kind of neat because we got Ryan Ewell here. He actually goes to Legacy in Kendallville. And he was actually running late to church one morning, and him and his wife and his daughter decided to come to Stones Hill because they heard great things about Stones Hill. And I met him at the door as he's walking in. And, lo and behold, he's been wanting to do Fight Club for a while because he's a Goshen firefighter, and he's heard about it up there. And that day we were doing our building up for Fight Club 15, and he was here on the day that we kicked that off. And it's just neat to see how God brings people to the right place at the right time in all circumstances, because he came to our church on that day, and he wanted to be somewhere close to his home, because they live in Wolf Lake, to do Fight Club. He didn't want to do it in Goshen because it's a little further and it's just a little more difficult to do that. And, through him running late to church that one day, he came here and met us. And, I grew very close to his family. And, that's what Fight Club does. Fight Club brings men together, brings families together. And that's all it is. Brings men together to serve together for our one true God. And, that's the name of the game, is we're here to serve and be a team of brothers to support each other. Whenever one of us is down, one of us is needing support, that's when we get on the phone, or we go to their house, or sometimes we go to their job site and look for them. So that's what Fight Club's about. It's, it's scary at first, but it's nothing to be scared about. It's a true blessing for me, and it's just nothing but blessings that I've seen across the board up here standing behind me. So I'll give it off to Ben here.
Yeah, just to echo along with what Bill and Gran have said, just to be able to impact people, whether it be visiting them at their job site, or we had the opportunity to bless some homeless. We took a love offering at our graduation, and we were able to bless some homeless in South Bend with coats and jackets and blankets and gloves. And it was just neat to be a part of that, and also to see the first-time guys come through it, and just to see how it's impacted their lives. And that's what I get charged about each chapter, and that's why I keep coming back. So just glad to be a part of it.
All right, we're going to move on to the next part of the service. But Bill, I don't know if these guys are quite warmed up yet. I tell you what, hey, Ryan Ewell, why don't you come over here, bub? You're a fireman, right? Yeah. Hey, if you have graduated Fight Club, can you guys stand up? Okay, we got a lot of Fight Club men. Stay standing. I'm going to include you guys. We need to kind of do something to kind of get prepared for this Q&A. A Q&A can really take it out of you.
Need to get us all pumped up.
Yeah, I got to get you pumped up, literally. I tell you what, sound guy, if you could roll that for me.
Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last on the start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last on the start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last on the start,
Come on, guys.
gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last on the start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last on the start, gotta tell the brown.
Okay, hold that for the next 20 minutes. All right, man. Oh, that's just an example. Give him a hand. Oh, that was awesome. That's just an example of one of our assignments each week. And, when it comes to the assignments, you might look at it and go, man, I can't do that. And that happens. Don't let the physical stuff keep you from doing Fight Club. I got part robot. We can get this done. We can, there's weeks where these guys are dealing with different things. And, like myself, first 3 weeks I couldn't do my miles. There's a lot of men on this stage here that did them for me. They didn't have to do that. When you can't do something, your brothers come to your aid. It is an amazing feeling. I didn't even ask these guys. They stepped up. So, this program has the ability to change you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. I'm seeing Fight Club save marriages. I'm seeing Fight Club save lives. If I'm being frank, saved my life. If I didn't do Fight Club, guys, I wouldn't still be here. That's a fact. So, outside of getting married to that beautiful lady and having our 2 little kids, this is probably the greatest thing I've ever done outside of getting saved. It's been a great, great experience. So we're going to move on to a Q&A session. Got a few questions for these guys. And let's go ahead and pass the mic, if we could. All right, what I'd like you guys to do is say your name, how many chapters that you've graduated, and then tell me, how did Fight Club change your life and your faith? And keep it to about a minute.
I'm John McKee. This is 6 chapters I've graduated at Fight Club. What it's really done is it's really strengthened my walk with Christ. I got more of a personal relationship with Him now than I've ever had in my life. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
Got to save it for the sermon.
I'm Todd Blasky. This is my 3rd attempt at Fight Club. First graduation. Pretty stoked about that because the first 2 times it's a tough challenge, but all us men stick together. What's changed me is it's brought me closer to God also. I've been through a divorce after a 27-year marriage. Lost my brother, lost my father last year, and it's been a rough time. And the thing I've realized most is God's always there for you. And He's calling out for you. Amen.
I'm Jerry Stoner. This is my 2nd chapter. And the brotherhood, the teamwork, mid-chapter meetings, those are things that I really love about the Fight Club. It's brought me more discipline and a closer walk with God.
I'm Ben Moser. This is my 13th chapter, and my takeaway from this chapter is, a lot of people say, I can go faster by myself. Well, that might be true, but you can go a lot further with your brothers. And so, and then the other thing is, so far as a mental and physical test, they always push you to go further than what you ever think you can go. And so, that's my takeaway.
Bill Daggy, 4 chapters. Big takeaway for me is just keep my growth in faith. Keep seeing men come to Christ. To be that servant that looks out for men that are hungry. Because, I don't know. I felt very, back to Ryan's story, when Ryan walked in this church, I felt very connected with Ryan. And I think that was through the good Lord telling me I need to invite him with open arms and speaking to him a little bit more about Fight Club, and which I did as much as I can. And but that's one thing that we just need to be as men, is we need to be servants wherever we're at home, in our community, in our church. Instead of rooting for a home team, we need to be rooting for Jesus. And we can have the rooting for our team later, but he's number one. So I'm just very happy to come alongside this man. and lead with him, co-lead with Gran, which was an awesome experience.
Joe Saggers, 3 chapters. A couple things that I take away from it and appreciate is, one, each chapter there are several assignments that really get you out of your comfort zone and require you to step out and show your faith in the community in different ways. And that just needs to be done year-round, not just when we're in Fight Club. And then each chapter there is a theme. This one had to do with overturning the call on the field, and is why you'll see red flags on the blocks. So what that meant is that just because your story is a certain way today doesn't mean that God can't overturn it. So I always appreciate those platforms.
My name is Michael Weaver. This is my first Fight Club chapter. My biggest takeaway was probably just knowing that if there was ever a problem that was going on in my life and I needed someone to talk to, I could talk to any of these guys. I know during I think it was my second or third week, I was starting to waver a little bit, not wanting to continue Fight Club, but thanks with Bill, Gran, and Alex, they kept pushing me, and just knowing these guys were always there was real helpful.
My name is Mike Weimer. This was my third Fight Club chapter. And my heart has always been with men because we can be passive. And in our society, men can sometimes just take a back seat. And it was my desire, it's always been my desire, because I raised 3 boys, to help them to understand that we can't be passive, that we need to step up and be leaders, not just in our families, but in our community. And I had the pleasure of having my oldest son do a Fight Club chapter with me. And I thought, well, I've done 2 chapters, so I got this. And they made him my accountability partner, and I didn't realize how much he was going to challenge me during this whole time. But that was great. And once again, I'm just so thankful for Fight Club. And if you haven't done Fight Club, I just recommend that you really step out and say, I'm going to do this next chapter.
Name's Alex Dagey. It's my first chapter, and I'd say the biggest takeaways is growing in faith with everybody here, and getting to know these guys, because I hardly knew anybody here, and being able to be an accountability partner with Michael.
My name's Brandon Howard. It's my first year. I would say my growth in my faith and getting to know everybody. Like Alex, I didn't know many of these guys. I actually got to meet my neighbor, Ryan, and we've become great friends.
I'm Ryan Ewell, and this is my first chapter of Fight Club. And as Bill shared, it's really by divine intervention, and my wife and I talk about this, and just the Holy Spirit, that we came here that Sunday morning, the first morning that they were starting to talk about Fight Club. And I wrote some things down because really this chapter, just so many things have happened. I don't have time to share it all, but I wrote last night, it's seeing the blessings you're given. A lot of times I think we go through life and bad things happen. You don't understand why, and you're not meant to, but you forget, that you're always blessed, when you have a relationship with God. And in so many ways, this chapter, it challenged me and my family, and I got to meet this awesome group of guys. And in the firehouse, it's a brotherhood. You count on these guys. They're your family when you're away from your family, and that's really what Fight Club, I feel, is about. I could go on and on about the blessings that I've seen in this chapter, and each and every one of these guys encouraged me, and they were there fighting for me, because I went into it not really expecting to graduate, and I did thanks to these guys pushing me. I met, these guys are my best friends, and I got a neighbor who, he's always there for me anytime I need it, and so just it challenged my family. And one thing I'll add is Fight Club, we have guidelines, and it talks about truly tithing. And up until Fight Club, I thought I was doing what the Bible said in tithing. And it just challenged me. I was convicted through this. And just through the 10 weeks and beyond, my wife and I have started a daily just tally of what God is doing when we're truly tithing and following and trusting Him with our money. And blessed immensely. So if I could share that with anybody, just that's the biggest thing I think it did for us.
I'm Jeremy Mangus, and Fight Club's really made me a better person. I feel that we were challenged to make changes in our lives as far as different, just in who you are, trying to care more, trying to be worthy to people, and that. Also, there was, in the beginning, I wanted to quit. I really did. But these guys here helped me through it. And I kept going and made it through. And then it's also made me be a better husband to my wife and hopefully my children.
Amen.
So.
Amen. You can hold on to it. Yeah. And I want to add one thing to this. In this chapter, Michael here actually gave his life to Christ because of Fight Club. And we saw Jeremy move closer in his faith. They both got baptized. So, this program works in an amazing way. I'm so excited about what's to come over this next year. Quickly, pass it down and tell us your favorite assignment and the worst assignment. Your favorite and your worst.
I would have to say my favorite assignment was going up to a stranger and basically giving them a gift card and telling them that God loved them and praying with them and just making them feel like they were loved. And of course, the worst assignment is all the exercise.
That might be unanimous.
I'll start with the worst one. For me, I love to drink, spark. I love to drink coffee, so that, I'm surrounded by that daily. And that one actually tripped me up, and I got a strike. So that was a hard one, not to drink anything but water. But favorite one, man, I think just really going out and praying with people. It puts you on your spot outside your comfort zone to go up to somebody that you don't know. And it was one of the options was to pray with a veteran, and I got to do that at a restaurant in front of some coworkers, and that's kind of hard in itself, but it was just a blessing to be able to pray for somebody you don't know, and especially a veteran.
My favorite assignment would have been giving our mail person the thank you note and the candy bar, and the worst would be like Jeremy, the exercise.
I would say the favorite one that I would take from the whole chapter would be giving something worth of value away for the whole chapter. And that was the biggest one that I liked out of it. But like everybody else says, I'd say the burpees for our exercises was the worst one.
Yeah, my favorite one was probably we got to write a card to our wives. And I'd done that before in a letter, and it really gave me an opportunity to tell my wife how much I love her. And I think the worst one was like a tie between two, the burpees, which is the worst exercise ever made, ever. And then I had done, in another Fight Club, we had done a day without coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty big coffee drinker. I would call myself a coffee snob. And then when it came down and it said a week, I just remember rereading it several times and going, a week without coffee. And but it ended up really helping me realize that we don't want anything in our lives to control us. And so by the end, I really realized that it's good to let things go that we are attached to, because we might have an unhealthy attachment and we don't want that in our lives.
Like Mike said, it was just my favorite assignment was definitely writing a letter to my wife and telling her how much I loved her. And like everybody else has been saying, the burpees, absolutely the worst thing ever.
My favorite assignment was a simple one compared to a lot of them, but it was just praying with past Fight Club members. So it's always good to keep in touch with those guys who may not be joining you for the current chapter. And then the exercises were distributed by a guy this year, and some weeks were really, really tough. I mean, like, as in over an hour. Like, your warm-up would be a mile, which is tough for me. Run a mile, and then it was like over an hour of pretty intense stuff. Or maybe it took these guys 20 minutes, I don't know, but it took me over an hour.
Yeah, Kevin Cooper's name actually became a curse word there for a while.
Worst assignment, it would be, of course, yes, burpees. That was terrible. And Kevin Cooper. Curse word. But favorite assignment I'd have to say my favorite assignment is having these guys when we meet every other week. That's my favorite assignment. When we meet and we get together and we talk about life, that's my favorite assignment during Fight Club, is when I get to have them over to my house, or we meet here at the church for breakfast, or if we meet wherever. That's my favorite assignment during Fight Club, is when I get to meet my brothers every other weekend and talk about life and what Jesus is doing in their life and what their struggles are. So,
yeah, I'm going to echo that too. Burpees, they're just not of God. And anyway, and and then two things: the squad meetings, and then getting to pray with a stranger. Had the opportunity to pray for my waitress, and she was going to have an operation. She was scared, and so I asked her. I said, I just feel compelled to ask you if I can pray for you right now. And she actually sat down and put her hands across the table to me and said, hey, let's pray. And so that was just a really neat God moment to be able to do that. And so just to step out of your comfort zone. And, a lot of people are putting on the face like, oh, everything's fine. And but that's not always the case. So it was neat just to be able to step out in faith and be Jesus to somebody.
I'd say my favorite one was doing the punt, pass, and kick competition with my wife Amy. That was fun, and probably the worst was the exercises. But those are probably the things I needed the most. So,
the thing that stuck out to me the most was the walking up to a complete stranger. The look on their faces is priceless. When you asked them if we could pray for them, they're in total shock. And the biggest struggle I had was writing the letters to the wife or whatever because of the divorce, and so I struggled with that, but still, God got me through it.
Well, of course, the worst was the exercises for you guys. I got fortunate and pulled a muscle at kickoff, so I didn't have to do the burpees. So the worst assignment for me was the week of water. I'm a Mountain Dew freak. I don't drink coffee. I drink Mountain Dew. So I ended up taking a strike because I couldn't do it. But the assignments I liked the best were, of course, the praying for people, but the ones for my wife, the writing a letter. I believe one of our assignments this one was to kiss your wife as much as you can.
I started early on that one.
Oh, I do that all day anyway. I love kissing on my bride. And I think that was my most favorite one.
Oh, man. There's a lot of assignments this chapter that dealt with our wives. And guys, if you need a reason to do Fight Club, that alone is a great reason. So this is the point where the wives do the elbow. My favorite assignment was actually the free throw challenge with our wives. If any of you know Jamie, she was a center at West Noble. She absolutely schooled me. We won, which was surprising, but she just absolutely tore me apart. It brought back a lot of memories. She was really known for her elbows. But this, I think Joe touched on it. This chapter was about sometimes life turns out in ways that we don't imagine. And we read a book. The theme was called Walk On, and that was the name of the book. It was about a guy by the name of Ben Malcolmson. Ben was a college student at UCLA, and he got with Pete Carroll. I know, boo, Pete Carroll. And he said, hey, Coach, I want to do a story about what it's like to walk on and try to make the team. Now, you got to keep in mind here, Ben had only done, I think his football was like a 5th grade Pee-wee football experience, and it did not go well. So this is a guy that's rather new, but he had athletic skills. Coach agreed, and he went through the process, only to find out he made the team as a wide receiver. And it blew his mind. He's like, oh, no, there must be a mistake. And he's a Christian, and he's like, God, why did you, this is not what I had planned. Now, that didn't translate into a lot of playing time, but what it did translate into was a life saved. What Ben would do is Ben would take Bibles and he would put them in his teammates' lockers, never really knowing he was making a difference. Fast forward some years, he found out one of those Bibles that he put in a teammate's locker, he got it and he accepted Christ like 3 or 4 days before he died. All because Ben was placed there for a specific reason and a specific purpose. Ben went on to coach with Pete Carroll at USC, and now he's in the NFL. So he did pretty good for a guy that never played, high school or middle school football. It's just an amazing story. Guys, at this point, I want you guys to go have a seat. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a couple videos here, about 3 of them. And these are some of the stories from our other Fight Club brothers. These guys are from Goshen.
Me and Ben Steele.
Yeah. These guys are from Goshen. And they all have unique stories. And I hope what you'll see is there's not one type of person that does Fight Club. You got younger guys, you got middle-aged guys, you got older guys. Sorry, John. Didn't mean to say that when you walked by. So, meet some of our friends.
Before I started Fight Club, my marriage really was not good. We were coasting, we were getting along in life, but we were not anywhere near where we are right now. Because of Fight Club and because of the way that they're consistently pushing us to pour into our families, pour into our wives, it really woke me up. My first chapter of Fight Club woke me up, and I guarantee my wife would tell you the same, to the fact that I wasn't doing my job. I wasn't pouring into my wife. I wasn't filling her love tank. I wasn't building her up as a woman. And once I began to do those disciplines, once I began to do that, I started seeing immediate fruit, immediate results. And our marriage saw immediate fruit and immediate results. And stuff I'd been praying for years, it's just I wasn't doing anything about it. I was praying, but not doing anything. My wife and I have a long way to go, but are on a tremendous track to awesomeness. And it is immeasurably better than it was before I started Fight Club. I would say God made me to be a leader, and I wasn't doing a lot of leading before Fight Club. And it gave me the opportunity to lead. Not only as a Fight Club leader, I am a leader. I've been a leader for a long time. This may be my 8th chapter leading. But I think immediately I had the opportunity to help lead other men. I mean, immediately when you're in a group with a pile of other men, you have the opportunity to help them along with your words of encouragement, with your jumping out in front and going ahead and leading on an assignment or whatever else it is. If you jump in and do it, and that's your opportunity to help lead, and I've definitely come alive more in that. That's definitely pushed me into that place I think God had for me from the beginning of time, and I love every minute of that. Many men need that push. I need that push. I come back over and over because I need guys to push me. I need guys to say, hey, let's do this together. Let's fight this good fight, like the word says, and finish this race. Let's do it well, and we can do it better together, arms locked and together. And Fight Club has certainly shown itself to be good at that. If it wasn't for Fight Club, I wouldn't get to see so many men win the way they are winning. I wouldn't get to see all of those wins and have that fuel in my tank to help me win. And that's one of the greatest things of Fight Club, watching all the men win, watching all the circumstances change for the better. That's the best. That's the greatest. My name is Benny Shank. I'm a Fight Club man.
we don't always use everything we can for the Lord. You know, we kind of think of the Lord's over here, and I'm a man over here, and all these manhood things are over here, and the Lord's over here. And Fight Club's kind of a chance to kind of integrate both those things. For instance, like the idea of team. Like, one thing I learned in the military is that you really can't do anything by yourself. You really can't. Very, very little. But as a team, even just a team of 4 or 5 guys, maybe 10 guys, you can almost accomplish anything if you have that team mentality where you're going to support each other and you're going to move together, you're going to do things together. Everyone's got a weakness, everyone's got a strength, that kind of thing, and you end up being this almost like unbeatable force because of that. So that whole team mentality is something that I think Fight Club integrates. You don't have an option in the military of dropping your guard. Like, you don't. Because if you drop your guard, you could cost your buddy his life. You know what I mean? In the military, it's just ingrained in you that, yeah, on a physical, you have to always have physical security. Anywhere you're going, you have to establish, a cordon. You have to establish a security perimeter. And then when you're relaxing, when you're going to sleep, when you're eating or whatever you're doing, that there are other brothers who are holding that line for you. If you fall asleep, essentially, if you just sort of give up, then that's where the enemy can come in and do whatever he wants to do. He can kill you, he can kill your buddy, he can do all these things, wreak havoc, whatever. So in the spiritual, and I literally felt that in Fight Club. I felt it numerous times, and in the spiritual, it's almost like a guy my accountability partner would just text me, be like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he didn't even know that right at that moment I was in, I was under attack, or I was about to be. When you came into Fight Club and when you were in the app and you could put a prayer request up, and when you saw other prayer requests come down, you could pray for them immediately, right when you saw you. Lord, I just pray for this guy's son or his wife or whatever, his job. And so, yeah, we were able to kind of develop a perimeter, and when you were in Fight Club, you knew that guys were praying for you. You knew that if you put something out there, they were going to pray for you. And I have a lot of things that I've done in the military, and I have a lot of different experiences I've had, and I kind of thought those were going to be isolated to that. Like, that's my military experience, But what I'm taking away from that is that I can go ahead and kind of open a door to that and allow some of that influence to come into my fellowship with men. It's exciting for me because it helps me to kind of dovetail these things together and push forward. And I think it's going to benefit, I know it's going to benefit both sides, the military that I'm still in, and then also Fight Club. I want to, be a blessing to those guys. And so I think that's what I'm taking away from it, is kind of a heightened sense of purpose, kind of using some of my experiences for the kingdom of God, that I honestly didn't think would probably be utilized that way. My name's Emmer Kierick, and I'm a Fight Club man.
I'm learning more now today, being involved with Fight Club, than I have probably in many, many years walking with the Lord. I mean, my time with the Lord was a yo-yo, before. And I'm a lot more steadier where I am, a lot more confident where I am in God. I know where I'm going. I know what I am. I know who I am. I know who my wife is, and my family, and my granddaughter. It means so much to me. Learning to fight for your family. I mean, I've never had that term in my life, and that's Nehemiah 4:14. When he was out there, he stood up and he said to the people and the nobles and the officials, "Don't be afraid of those guys. We have an awesome God, and He's great. Fight for your brothers, fight for your sons and your daughters and your wives and your homes." I never thought of that before. I've never been there. Would I fight for them physically? Absolutely. Back in those days. But fighting for them today spiritually. We get our granddaughter at 4:30 every morning, and we have to get her ready for school. Her mom's a single mom. That little girl's saved. She knows Jesus. She prays every morning on the way to school. I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for this. I mean, take for example the block of wood. Who could ever come up and wrap their mind around an 8-inch long 4x4 block of wood that's cracked, got a bunch of chips in it, that's not a pretty piece of wood, and make it something that, I mean, I'm so proud of that block of wood. People, my wife is proud of it. She puts it in the windowsill of our living room. And people see it, they don't know why, what it's about. But I do. And when you start doing projects like that for the Lord, it changes your life. And when I go out of this life, I'm a different man than I was coming into it. My name is Gordon Foster, and I'm a Fight Club man.
At this time, Michael and Alex, would you come back up the stage? One thing through Fight Club, everybody says, a lot of the guys out there that don't do it says that I don't have time, I'm too busy. And they always put something in front of it. And, I could say that every day. I have 5 kids, have a beautiful wife at home, work a regular job, have a food ministry on the side that keeps me rather busy. And then for me to do Fight Club every 10 weeks and then off for another few 10 weeks and back on, I could say that. And one thing I want to put out to you men, don't ever feel that you're too busy, because God will always give you the time to do the work that He wants you to do, and that's the key. He's going to give you the time to do the work that He wants you to do, not what you want to do, what He wants you to do. And I know that takes time to listen inside deep and figure out where you're led to go. And I'm so happy to do what I do for Him through the food ministry and with my family. And like I said, I had an awesome opportunity to see these 2 guys go through this chapter, my brother-in-law Michael and my son Alex. And both of them kind of was on they could have said the same thing. Alex just started college. New frontier for him. He doesn't know. Didn't really know what to expect. And then Michael, he was planning a wedding and getting married to my daughter. So there was lots of things going on in their lives, but they still decided that they had time to do this 10-week men's ministry. So one thing I want to put to I want them to tell you guys is, since they're our younger guys on our squad, actually across both our squads, they're the 2 youngest guys, I want them to reach out to the younger generation that might be graduating this year and are thinking about going into Fight Club. Why should I do Fight Club?
I would say, like my dad was saying, starting college, I didn't think I'd have time, but going through and making a schedule between college and Fight Club, it helped with both ways, and it helped with everybody. And if you don't think you have time, you do. And I really encourage younger guys to do it, because it benefits in the end, and it just grows spiritually and with all the guys around you.
I want to point out one thing about Alex here. This kid here was always the first guy to get his assignments done. As a leader, you want to lead by example. And we get our assignments on Wednesday night, and by Thursday evening, I'm looking at the app, and this guy's got them all done. So I'm really proud of him. Good job.
I'm not going to lie. When Bill was talking to me, it was actually the last Fight Club chapter when my dad was actually doing it. Bill and Gran were both pushing me like, hey, you should really try out for Fight Club next year or next chapter. It's a real good experience. You really ought to do it. I was kind of pushing, like, yeah, I'll think about it. But when the time came, and I know God was leading me towards Fight Club. Still at the time when we were going in there, I was real on edge about it. I didn't want to do it, but it changed me. It really did. I mean, with, like Bill was saying, we were planning a wedding, got started Fight Club out as a fiance. Now I have a wife with a baby on the way, and it's amazing how much Fight Club can change you. It is an absolutely great experience. Any guys out there that are, like Bill was saying, we were the youngest two guys on our two squads. It was a little shaky at first. I mean, looking at everybody else having experience. I mean, been married for years, having families. I mean, it's different. And seeing all these guys, and if you have problems going on in your life, you can go to these guys, and they'll have an answer for you. They always do.
Hey guys, thank you. You can have a seat. Give them a hand, guys. Hey, Bill Diggy, come up here, bud. I had the great blessing of co-leading with this guy. And one of the things he did, when I started the chapter, I was in the hospital getting my lovely LVAD, becoming Iron Gran. And he got this idea of bringing Courtney up to kind of tell everybody how Fight Club had impacted her life. And I got a surprise here for Bill. He didn't know that this was going to happen, but his daughter would like to talk about how Fight Club has impacted her life.
Being able to be my dad's side through these 4 Fight Club chapters has been the best experience ever. I also got to see my brother Alex and brother-in-law Michael go through Fight Club as well. My dad grew so much in his faith spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally. The first Fight Club he did not only brought him closer to God, but he became a leader. I love seeing my dad be a leader and being the person I always dreamed of him being. I knew that when my dad started Fight Club, God was going to work in his life in so many ways. I don't think my dad knew God could change a person this much in just 2 years. Being his daughter, I got to experience God's grace. He has helped me see the light and the true power of God. I loved how Fight Club has put people in my dad's life because it has given my dad the chance to show them God's light. With my dad being a part of the food bank, it gives them the chance to share God with every person he meets. No matter who they are, my dad knows God put them in his life for a reason. Watching my dad be a co-leader with Gran this year was amazing. They put so much effort into this Fight Club chapter. I'm grateful for Gran because he's shown my dad that even though we go through struggles in life, God will always be there to help. Ever since the first Fight Club, my dad has changed. His attitude, personality, and leadership changed dramatically. He's positive all the time, no matter the situation. He always puts others before himself. He has become a true leader of God in everything and anything he does. He's the leader I always dreamed of him being. I love that my dad has become so strong in his faith because he has become the dad I always wanted. Before Fight Club, my dad believed in God, but he didn't have a strong relationship with him. People kept mentioning Fight Club, and he would come up with an excuse not to do it, like, I'm too busy, I don't have the time. But he had the time to do it. He just didn't have that strong relationship with God, and I think that was what tried to push him away from doing Fight Club. I will always remember the memories of helping my dad with assignments and going on long walks late at night. I am so glad my dad took that extra step and started fixing his relationship with God. Fight Club has made my dad stronger, and I couldn't be any happier. I have been able to walk by my dad's side for these 4 Fight Club chapters, and there are many more to come. But most of all, I'm glad I will always be able to call my dad a Fight Club man.
Good job. Awesome. You know, guys, that's an example. Your kids are watching you. And your wives are watching. I got 2 Fight Club guys who, they don't know this. Talk to your wives, gentlemen. If you're one of those wives, actually there's 2 of you. Why don't you grab your hubby? Why don't you head this way? You know, Fight Club gave us an opportunity to really spend time with our wives, to do different things, to show them love, show them appreciation. A couple chapters ago, we got the opportunity to leave candy in our wife's car. So the next time she got in the car, she would be blessed with a little love note. And I was feeling pretty good about that. And got my wife's favorite candy, wrote this really romantic note, thinking, man, she's going to love this. Well, she leaves work at 4:30 in the morning. And, 4:30 in the morning, she wakes me up. Hey, were you out in my car? And, I'm like half asleep going, yeah, I was. I'm expecting her to say, hey, thank you. She goes, yeah, my car is dead. You left the lights on. Oh, man. But she got a full day off of work to spend with this guy.
Well played, man.
Thank you. I try. Oh, man. I'd like to introduce Lisa Ewell and Avea. These 2 sweet ladies belong to this guy, Ryan, here. And I approached them. And how has Fight Club affected your man?
Sorry, I had to bring my phone up here because it wouldn't print out. So when Gran asked me to share this morning, I wasn't so sure. I am not one for public speaking at all. And the thought of coming up on this tall, super tall stage at 33 weeks pregnant was more than a little intimidating. Yet I was reminded by a few people to think of this as a way to honor my husband. And not so much for the spotlight, although it's really bright. I thought that was a great perspective, so that's what I'm going to do. I love how God works. I had all this written out, and then Bill was speaking about Ryan and how we were running late to to church one Sunday, and so we came here, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to change this a little bit. But as he said, we were running late, and we ended up here. Kind of by fluke, but obviously it wasn't. It was God. At the last minute, I just suggested to my husband, I'm like, hey, why don't we turn around and go to Stones Hill? Now, if you know my husband, he's a very linear thinker, and he doesn't turn around. We had already passed the way we would have to go, and he's like, no, we're going in this straight line, we're going. But he actually took our huge SUV and did a U-turn. And we ended up at Stones Hill on Fight Club Sunday. So when we were hearing about Fight Club, I think we both thought this was something that Ryan should do. Now, both of us have been Christians for a really long time, but we've had struggle with finding community. We moved to Wolf Lake about a year and a half ago. Sorry, we got a little tap dancer. So we moved to Wolf Lake about a year and a half ago. And having come to a place where we didn't feel like we had many friends, we were actually hoping to move to South Bend because Ryan was working at Notre Dame Fire Department at the time. We figured if we could get into a bigger city like Mishawaka, we'd be able to get friends, in a big church. And so God moved us to the middle of nowhere in Wolf Lake. But at the same time, he knew what he was doing. We found a church, but we really have had a hard time connecting outside of Sunday mornings and Monday night life group. So just being a half hour away from Kendallville. So when I heard about Fight Club, I knew it was something Ryan should do. I knew it would be a commitment for him, and with his unique schedule as a firefighter, now at Goshen, and going through paramedic school, I knew it might be a challenge for not only him, but also for me. As a firefighter wife, I am on my own for 24-hour shifts with a 3-year-old, and it gets lonely and it gets overwhelming at times. And so our family time is very precious. But at the same time, Bill mentioned that he really wanted to work with Ryan and help make it doable for him. And that meant a lot. Although it was hard at times to give up my quality time, I knew that Ryan desired spiritual accountability and friendships. And I knew, too, that if he got that, it would not only be good for him and help him thrive, but it would be good for our family. One thing that I love and admire most about my husband is his tenacity. He's not a quitter. If he puts his mind to something, he will see it through, no matter how challenging it may be. And I think that quality definitely helped him in Fight Club. I have seen Ryan grow spiritually so much and grow as the leader of our home through Fight Club. He's worked hard to give his best to God, to me, and to our daughter. His passion and dreams for ministry and his relationship with Christ has been renewed. And I love seeing that fire within him. It's what I first fell in love with when I met him 6 years ago. And our family has been blessed. Through Fight Club, Brian has made so many strong friendships, which have transcended into family friendships for all of us. We've gotten to know and become close friends with our neighbors, Brandon and Lindley Howard. And our daughter loves little Colson. We're even expecting our little boys just a few days apart. We've gotten to know Gran and look forward to getting to know his family more. And we were blessed to be able to share our story of loss, grief, and healing through God's faithfulness on his podcast. Sorry. And we've also gotten to know the Daggies and have been blessed by their generosity and selflessness. I could actually recall stories of the generosity and selflessness of each of these families. They have all shown great love and support to our family in the past few months. It's amazing, overwhelming, and humbling at the same time. Both Ryan and I have had many talks about how we see God in each of them and how we long to be even more like that as we are challenged by their examples. Our community, that community that we prayed for and that we long for, it's here. We may not all go to the same church, but we all live fairly close to one another. We love the same God. We are a part of his church. I'm so thankful that we turned around that Sunday morning and came to Stones Hill, and that we, as a family, gave Fight Club a chance. Thank you.
Awesome. And here's my brother Jeremy and his wife, Lisa.
Mine's short and sweet because I don't like the spotlight. It says, Fight Club has changed my husband. Fight Club has changed my husband. He's a better grandpa, man, father, friend, son. He wrote on his blog one thing he needed to work on was caring. It has been a struggle for him. At times when he realizes that he tries to fix it to the best he can. And for all those things about my husband, I can say I'm very proud and blessed to be married to him and have a Fight Club man by my side.
Awesome. Guys, give him a hand. All right. You guys can have a seat. Thank you for your service, both of you.
Before Ryan sits down, I want to say something real quick. Like Gran said, he was in the hospital at kickoff, so I was with the guys on kickoff night. Yep. And I didn't know Ryan pretty much at that time. Just knew his name, and I knew where he lived. And I didn't know much about Brandon. But that night, at the end of our service, I asked the guys, I got the squad together, and I said, does any of you guys don't have accountability partners? And Ryan raised his hand. Brandon raised his hand, and two other guys raised their hands. So I just went like this, boom, 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 you got your accountability partners now. Not knowing Brandon, after that I came up to Brandon, I asked him, I said, Brandon, where do you live? And he says, I live in Wolf Lake. And I said, I kind of just looked up at the stars that night, and I'm like, huh. this plan is coming together, God. I get it.
Yep.
You know, because him as a firefighter, the one thing that when he was so worried about was the schedule. And here God was working already in that process of making his schedule easier by giving him an accountability partner that was literally his neighbor. And I didn't even know that. So just seeing them moments happen, it's priceless. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Wanted to hold you up here. I just think that's an amazing story.
Probably be mad at me for saying this, but because of that schedule and just, you guys probably heard of the term. It's often, said in church, it takes a village to raise a family, and it's true. I'm gone for 24 hours, and it never fails that something happens, something breaks. And just yesterday, my outdoor water spigot froze and busted off, so we got water flowing. I get a phone call, I can't leave, and Brandon, right down the road, came and helped me out. He actually went to Ace Hardware back in Columbia City, I think, all in his own time. And, he's got plenty of to-do things as well, like I do. And just that's what it's about, guys, in the community. And I love it. Yeah, like my wife said, we go to church in Kendallville, but, we've got a heart for just going out there and meeting people for Jesus and holding each other accountable, helping each other out. And I know John's going to do an awesome sermon, so I'll stop. But, this really means a lot. And, I love you guys and what this is about and the support in this community, because you're out there and you're doing it, for Noble County and for Ligoniers. So,
appreciate it, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Amen. You guys can have a seat. Cool. At this point in time, I'm going to invite John McKee up. John is a Goshen Fight Club guy. He was in my squad. I had the amazing blessing of getting to help lead this man. This guy has been my friend since the first chapter of Fight Club we did with the guys at Grace, where he goes to church. And this guy literally took the training along with a few of the others that are here. Was at the hospital when I got my surgery and had the LVAD in. And when I woke up, I shouldn't say when I woke up. I went out on a Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. and about noon, God allowed me to see people in my room and to experience something, and then he knocked me out again until 3 a.m. that following night. But one of the things I remember most is John and Jim Meal coming in. They had the shirts and the bracelets on. They comforted my wife and my kids and my mom and my dad. And I asked them, can you guys be there for them? Because I can't. And these guys gladly filled that role. They prayed with me. They prayed with my doctors. And when I woke up, for that very short time, I hear Jim and John say, brother, we're going to pray for you. And I had the breathing tube in. My arms were tied down. I had all sorts of hoses and chest tubes. And I just remember, yeah, please. I couldn't say it, but I was thinking it. And these guys held my hand and they prayed for me. That's what a Fight Club man does. But I'm going to have John share with you for about 10 minutes here how Fight Club's affected his life and how the lessons that he's learned over the past 6 chapters, how it's going to help make his 2019 a great, great year. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Gran. I'm 63 years old, so you guys that are getting up there in years, don't worry about the physical parts. They'll work with you with it. But I'll give you a little bit of history of myself. I've known Jesus all my life. I went to church schools until I was in 5th grade. But I didn't give myself to Christ until 1971. And I'd follow for a while, and then I wouldn't, and then I would, and then I'd go, God, if you do this for me, we're going to be just like this. We'll be real close, and God doesn't make deals that way. He wants all of you. But did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. I was heavily into the biker lifestyle for quite a few years, and partied and did drugs and all of that stuff. And God took all that away from me. He never left me during that time. From the time I gave myself to Christ, He's never left me. He's always been there. In 2000, I had my first heart attack. I was out in the middle of Stone Lake up north of Middlebury. I always would do that after work. I'd take my boat out and I'd go swim around the boat. Well, this night I swam away from the boat. About halfway back, I started having a heart attack. Jesus got me back to the boat. That's why I'm still here. He's got me here for a reason. I had 2 more heart attacks after that, and I've had open heart surgery. I've had a 5-way bypass. 4 years ago next month, I had a pretty bad accident. I got T-boned right in the left door by a pickup truck doing about 55, 60 mile an hour. I separated my left shoulder. I had 6 broken ribs. And I hit my head hard enough, I had bleeding on the brain. They didn't catch the bleeding on the brain until about a month after the accident. I started getting real bad headaches and throwing up, and they did a CAT scan, found that. And they drilled 2 holes in my head here, like I needed more holes, and put tubes in to drain it. My wife said I had my horns removed, but I didn't have horns. She just says that. But after I got out of the hospital from that, my wife and I, we'd been talking about going to church. After the first heart attack, I really started reading the Bible more and, trying to follow God. But my wife is legally deaf. She can hear a little bit out of her right ear. So I said, you pick a church to go to. I want you to be comfortable. When I got out of the hospital, I told her, I said, I have got to go to church this Sunday. So she said, let's go to Grace. So we went to Grace, and went there about a year and saw a couple of the Fight Club graduations. And I'm going, that sounds like that might be something I need. Talked to one of the pastors trying to get some information about it, and these guys will tell you we don't talk about Fight Club. You can tell people, but you don't talk about it. So it's hard to get men to go into it and go, well, we can't talk about that. But he told me, he says, I think you'll enjoy it. So that first night that I showed up for kickoff, and the kickoff is always on a Friday night, 11:59. I mean, what else are you going to be doing on a Friday night at midnight? So I showed up. I figured there was going to be 50, 60 guys there. And I got there. The kickoff was at Grace. And the parking lot is full of cars. And I go inside, and they've got things to do as you're going into where they met at. But when I got down there on the gymnasium part, there was 300 guys in there. All of them there for the same thing, to chase after Jesus. And I've learned something in each and every chapter of Fight Club that I've done. I've learned that I'm not in control. It's either Satan's in control or Jesus is in control. And I've turned that control over to Jesus, and I'm telling you, it's so much better to walk through life that way. I used to work in a liquor store. When I did my first chapter, I worked in a liquor store. And I wanted out of there, and I thought, this just didn't really do with my walk with Christ. And I'm a journeyman tool and die maker. I'm basically retired now. And so I just work part-time, and there was a part-time job for a cutter grinder at I think it's called the Cutting Edge there in New Paris. And that's a religious factory. I talked to them, and they said, well, we pray in the morning and all this stuff. And I said, all right, God, this is where you want me. I'll get out of that liquor store. This will work. Well, after about a month, they've called me and said, we decided not to fill that position. So I was disappointed. But the thing I've learned about Fight Club is when you're praying for something and you don't get what you want, we think we've got the best plan, but God's got a better plan. So I took that disappointment and I prayed and I said, okay, God, what's your plan? I want to do your plan because I know it's better. And in Fight Club, I'm not giving out secrets here.
No, you're good.
We're supposed to give away something of value. Well, the most valuable thing we have is our time. So Pastor Mike up at Grace, he says, why don't you go volunteer at the window? It's the food pantry up at Goshen. I said, okay, yeah, that's giving away, time. So I wanted to be behind the scenes, checking stuff in, things like that. I didn't want to host in the pantry and with the people, and that wasn't God's plan. God says, no, I want you to host. I want you out there with the people. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people that came in there. It was, it's a blessing and humbling all at the same time, because it could be me and my wife. It could be any one of you that's going through a food pantry. And I had fun doing it. Well, the job of food coordinator came open, and they asked me if I'd fill that position. And okay, God, this is where you put me. I get to serve God every day by serving others, and He blesses me, and I get paid for it. Another lesson learned. The plan that God has is better than any plan that we can come up with. So if you don't get the answer to the prayer that you want, instead of being disappointed about it, just look at God and say, okay, what's your plan? What have you got in line for me? Because I guarantee it's better than anything that you've got planned. The other thing is I've learned that there is nothing on this earth to be afraid of. Nothing. I've rode motorcycle for a lot of years. Taught motorcycle safety for 7 years. And I was always had a fear of it. Even when, I enjoyed it, but I was always a little bit afraid of it. I saw a best friend of mine get killed on a motorcycle. And that still sticks with me today. I can still see it. But I've learned through Fight Club, the last 2 years of riding motorcycle, I have enjoyed it so much more because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid if something happens. I'm not afraid if I die. Jesus beat that. Jesus beat every single thing that Satan stands for. There's not one thing on this earth to be afraid of. When this physical body gives out, I'm getting a new one. Jesus is going to give me one that don't hurt. I have hair. I won't have my horn removed scars there anymore. That's something to look forward to. I'm not afraid of that. The only thing I am afraid of is not pleasing God. And so through Fight Club, I've learned to chase after Jesus every day, to have my mind and my spirit open to what He wants us to do, what He wants me to do. I said it's a personal thing between me and God, and that my personal relationship with God has gotten so close. My faith is so strong that I knew He was going to come through that surgery without any trouble at all, and that He was going to be strong and He's going to be here for us. I've learned that prayer is the strongest weapon that God has given us to fight off Satan. The armor of God. It's in Ephesians.
Amen.
Read that every morning. Put that armor on just like you're getting dressed. We need that to combat everything Satan throws at us, because he's always going to be over here saying, and he does this to me a lot, well, you remember when you did this? You're really not forgiven for it. But God's word says, I am, so get away. We've got the power of the blood of Jesus on us. When you say, I'm covered with the blood of Jesus, Satan can't hang around. He's got to go. When you say Jesus, I love that name. I love saying Jesus. When you say that, Satan has to flee. He's not around anymore. But I've learned the discipline of chasing after Jesus every single day. Praying about anything and everything. The Bible says to pray unceasingly. Part of my job at the window is I do a route every day of going around and picking up donations. And sometimes I've got a timeline. I have to be back at a certain time. And driving through town, I'll be coming up. I'm running out of time. The light's green, and I'll just start praying, Lord, please keep this light green. Keep this light green. He keeps it green. So I just thank you, Jesus. That's little things. We need to turn to God even for the little things, not just the big things, but little things. I'm kind of running out of stuff to say.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. John here is basically Grace's Billy, for the most part. He's the food man. And I want to thank you for serving with us and for joining us here at Stones Hill, John. So thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
And just remember, always turn to Jesus for everything. My mom's favorite saying was, "He that is in me is greater than he that is in the world." And my mom was a fine example of a Christian. And I hope that she's proud of me. She's in heaven. And I hope she's proud of the man that I've become through Fight Club, because it has really strengthened me. Like I said, you guys that are getting up there in years, don't worry about the physical parts of it. If that's what's holding you back from doing it, don't worry about it. Your squad leader and the guy, Pastor Jim and those that have put this on, they're going to work with you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I pulled a muscle at kickoff this last chapter, but they work with me on exercises. It's another thing I've learned is that I walk 3 miles every single day. I can't run. I've got bad knees. But between the second and third chapter, I didn't continue exercising. After the third chapter, I thought, I ought to keep doing this. It'll help my heart. I'm diabetic, so it'll help with my diabetes. My numbers are down. My A1C numbers are down to 6, so that helps. They said my heart is 100% healthy. I got to tell about this part.
Oh, yeah.
Well, after my third heart attack, I had irreversible damage done to the left ventricle. My heart would only pump out 36% of the blood. Of course, then I had the 5-way bypass, and maybe 2 years ago, I had some surgery to fix a hernia. But before the doctor would do that, he said, "You got to go to your cardiologist." Well, they did a nuclear stress test. And they come back and they're kind of scratching their head and they say, "Your heart's 100% healthy." I said, "Praise Jesus." Something that man said it was irreversible. Jesus says, "Watch this."
Hold my Bible.
It's fixed, yeah. Hold my bottle of holy water. Gran says that, adds that in there. But, I can see Jesus sitting up there, man saying, "Oh, man, that's impossible. It's not going to work." And Jesus goes, "Hey, watch this."
We appreciate you, John. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
Hey, not a problem, man.
God bless all of you. All the glory is God's.
All right, we're nearing the end of the service now, and we've actually done something. You guys don't know this yet, but sometimes God works in an amazing way, and it's kind of a surprise how He turns up. And as a squad, and as a group of men, 2 squads, we decided to bless somebody. Now, one of you caught a yellow football that has Jesus written on it. If you caught that, please stand up. Oh, okay. All right. We're not going to make you do sally-ups, so you're good. All right. We want to bless you with this envelope. And we want to wish you a happy 2019, young man. And God bless. Now, if I can get the band to make their way to the stage, and also all you Fight Club vets, we're going to join in on a time of worship. So I want all the Fight Club men, past, present, to make their way up. And while they're making their way up, I want to plant some seeds here. Guys, we're all on a journey. And there's areas of our lives that we want to strengthen, with our faith and with our relationships. And sometimes as men, we keep things inside. We don't share. We don't open up. We don't allow our brothers to fight for us and with us. What I would like to do is encourage you. At Stones Hill, we're doing 2 things. The first thing that we're going to be doing is, and we're still working on dates. I believe it's going to be on a Wednesday here in the near future, so stay tuned for details. But we're going to start a group called Uncommon. And the group Uncommon, we're hoping, is going to be a nice Bible study group of men doing man stuff. A little different than Fight Club. No physical stuff, really. So if you're worried about the physical stuff, you're good. But we're going to get together every Wednesday. A lot of us hang out back here, waiting on our kids during service, and it'd be a great time to start taking advantage of that as men. And Wayne is going to lead that for us. And Bill and I are coming alongside Wayne, and we're going to actually start out with the guys in the church, but our vision is to eventually move it to a different day and start pulling guys from other churches in the town. Make it not really be about the name on the church, but make it be about we're brothers. And this way we can strengthen men in all the churches here in Ligonier. Along those same lines, we got another announcement, don't we, Bill?
Yes. Mic on. In the fall this year, Stones Hill is going to be bringing Fight Club here. We're going to start Fight Club 1 here at Stones Hill. So if you guys have don't want to go to the big crowd of Grace and stress out about having that many guys around you, we are going to start Fight Club 1 here at Stones Hill this fall. Don't know the dates yet, but if that's something that you guys out there that want to join in, it's going to, we're going to have it. We're going to open it up we're going to go out to different churches here in the community, and we're going to push Fight Club, and we're going to try to meet at a neutral site, not at a church. So it's more inviting to guys that don't want to show up at a church and be more open at a neutral site than at a church setting. So we're going to start that process probably in January. We're going to start with a committee and start working our way to the fall. But we are going to do Grace's Fight Club in February. So guys, that's coming real soon. So I really encourage anybody out there that wants to go along with, because we'll push the dates and all that here at the church, and then I can have sign-ups and that kind of stuff so we can break up squads like we normally do. But yeah, real exciting news that we're actually going to bring Fight Club here to Stones Hill. I am so stoked that we are going to actually have this men's group come to here to Ligonier, Indiana. And, our hopes is to bring in the other churches around us, to bring in all the men that can and want to do Fight Club and serve our one true God, and just do what He wants us to do, and that's just serve Him. So I'm just so excited to announce that. And I just thank everybody here at Stones Hill for supporting all these guys.
Yeah.
Because without support, we got to have support, because we wouldn't get through life without each other. So I just thank you for everything you do.
And guys, about Fight Club, I want to also add, actually I'm going to turn around and talk to you guys. Come fall, I'm going to need leaders. So I'm going to challenge you guys. Every single one of you guys have graduated at least one chapter of Fight Club. Okay, I need 10 guys. My hope is that we can get enough for 10 squads. If you're interested, see me. Because if that's the case, I'm going to have you go through this next chapter of Fight Club at Grace so we can go through the leader training. All right? Guys, be praying about that. In order to get the man, get the family, get the church, and then get the community, we have to lead. We've got to lead. And in order to make that impact on the world, in Jesus' name, we need guys that are going to come along and do that. So be praying about that as a church. As we get dates, and like Bill said, we'll be sure to post that. But like he said, the next chapter of Fight Club at Grace is going to be in February. And then ours will be in the fall, probably 2 weeks after Grace's. And we're going to be working with them on that. And I'm very, very happy to announce, after talking with Adam Tomlinson, Adam's going to be our Jim Brown. And there's a good chance Sally's making a comeback, guys. So I'm just saying. So guys, thanks. Be praying for us. And, if you're worried, if you're not sure about Fight Club, but you really want to check it out, it's worth checking out. Bill and I will be in the back after service Stop by, say something to us. Things in our life aren't always the best. We all got something we need to work on. Don't work on it alone. Every guy behind me here will testify to the fact that we're stronger in numbers. An army is made up of a number of soldiers, unless you're Chuck Norris. But it takes a number of men to come alongside, to lock arms, to make a difference. And guys, I'm telling you, this program works. So be praying with us. And at this point in time, we'd like to enter into a time of worship.
Our Lord, our God.
long today, so we'll end it at that one. But I'd like to thank you guys, and I'd like to invite up Pastor Joey to kind of close this up.
Yeah, it's been a great day. Let's pray together, shall we? And this is a wonderful thing to see these guys. We pray to God. Father, thank you so much for these moments. Thank you for the men, Brother Bill, and the congregation here. Every chain is breakable, the Bible says. And we've heard about a track to awesomeness. And so, Father, may we get on the track, and you lead us to your kind of awesomeness. I can't help but think that some of us may enjoy